Well, there you go, fellas. Week 12 started out with a bang, ended with a bang. Oh my gosh, lots to talk about. Let's not waste any time. Have all four of the guys tonight. This is going to be great. I see your cup, Caleb. I see you. I see you. Week 12 is over. Started with a Thursday night matchup. Tim, we're going to go right to you. The Buffalo Bills, the highly touted Buffalo Bills, they lose to the Houston Texans 23-19 with a backup quarterback. That doesn't speak well about their season.
No, it doesn't, because let's be honest, I think these two teams have kind of, our opinions on these two teams have changed a little bit. At least mine have. Houston, earlier in the season, I think we were all kind of maybe ready to write them off. Their defense is absolutely filthy. I think undisputable right now, the best defense in the league. They lead the league in fewest points, 16 points a game they're giving up, which is crazy. Lead the league in yards allowed. Josh Allen sacked, I think, 8 times. He had 2 interceptions. Like we said, the problem with the Bills for all year really has been it's so heavy on Josh Allen. And if Josh Allen has a game like that or faces a defense like that, they're in a lot of trouble. So I'm a little worried if I'm a Bills fan. Josh Allen's a phenomenal player. No one's going to dispute that. But the rest of the team, and if I'm a Houston Texans fan, my goodness, look at the standings. You're right back in it.
Yeah,
Caleb, I know you love the Bills, so tell me how you're starting to feel about them.
I think that we've seen the formula. The Bills actually just signed Brandon Cooks, who got cut from the Saints, so that's going to help them out. He's going to be their number 1 receiver right out the gate. I know he's older, but still he's their best player on the field, other than James Cook, I think, other than Josh Allen, obviously. But yeah, the Bills, it seems like the formula before Brandon Cook's acquisition was to just play man and then force one-on-ones with Josh Allen to keep him in the pocket, and that's what they did in this game, and that's how the Falcons beat him earlier. That's how they beat him this week. And then Davis Mills is really the story in my mind here. He's filled in the last 3 weeks as a starter with Stroud's out with concussion. Long concussion, a month-long concussion. It's pretty interesting. But in his starts, he's had 6 total touchdowns, 879 yards, and only 1 turnover. So he's been playing great football. I don't think they're going to bench him when Stroud's back until he starts playing bad, because that's how you should do these things, I think. DeMeco Ryans been a great coach, and like Tim said, their defense has been the best in the league the past few weeks. So kudos to them. That's a big game in prime time. And if I'm a Bills fan, I'm definitely worried. That's some scary stuff. You're second in your division by 2 games now, I think, and you're losing your division, I think, by 2 games too. So not good. Alarms going off for me.
Yeah. I think, as Tim said, this is the number 1 defense at this point in time in the season. I think it's fair to say they have the best or the number 1 edge rusher combo between Neil Hunter and Will Anderson. I believe they have 11 sacks and 10.5. Obviously, double digits right away this fast into the season. Doing well, but I don't think the Houston Texans defense was scared of the Buffalo Bills receivers. Khalil Shakir, most of his yards after catch, he had 110 yards. 44 was his longest on the game. 44 being his longest, the second best receiver in this game was a running back who had 45 yards. And then the third, Jackson Hawes, the priority blocking tight end who's filling in a little bit more with Kincaid out, had 26 yards. And then the new acquisition, Gabe Davis. So there's no one out there that opposing defenses are scared of other than, as y'all mentioned, of course, Josh Allen, James Cook, but the receiving option would be Khalil Shakir. And so you look at this game, there was a 3rd and 20. They're playing man-to-man, one-on-one on these receivers when all they had to do was prevent the 3rd down, the 20-yard gain or 18-yard gain, whatever it was, and they still just lined up 1-to-1, weren't going to allow them to get any yards at all because they were able to shut them down in this game. So there really is no receiving threats for them other than the backs, other than Shakir, and that's why they bring in someone like Cooks, as Caleb mentioned.
Right, I have a point real quick. I don't know if it's McDermott or the front office, the GM, but receivers, they have not drafted a receiver well outside Shakir. Keon Coleman's been a healthy scratch, which is kind of out of nowhere. The last 2 weeks he hasn't played. He's supposed to be their best receiver. They haven't drafted a receiver outside Shakir. They've picked up these free agents. They let Stephon Diggs walk a few years ago because they thought they had Gabe Davis to be their guy. Then they cut him, let him walk to the Jaguars to go get paid, and he obviously is back. And they're picking up Brandon Cooks. They picked up Josh Palmer. Nothing's working. I think that then we need to turn our attention to the GM and ask, what are y'all doing for receivers to help your Hall of Fame caliber quarterback? And they're not really helping him out, it seems. It's pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm not a Bills fan, but it's still frustrating to see this talent being wasted in a quarterback. He's obviously producing, but I'm saying the potential there could be much more.
Outside of Keon Coleman, who's supposed to be the number one. Gabe Davis was their second best receiver they've drafted on paper, even draft capital wise, and he was a third round pick. But who have they drafted with a high draft pick under this regime, under Bean and McDermott, outside of Josh Allen, that has been a high impact player for them in the first or second round?
I mean, they're not getting it done.
I mean, you see the guys that they draft in the first round, and they're ultimately off the team. Like Kincaid, sure, let's wait and see. This is the third year now. He's continually hurt, of course. But Kyrie Elam, stretch first round pick, probably off the team here. Keon Coleman, they traded the pick in the first round to go back and get Keon Coleman at the top of the second. Not going to work out. It's just, you see it time and time again with them, is that they're scraping by. They're picking up guys that were on the team 5 years ago. I think they just picked up Shaq Lawson, this is his second or third time on the team. It's just, they're clearly, they see the struggle, they see the pain that they're going through right now, and they're trying to string it together.
Yeah, 100%. The worst part is they're now 7-4. Patriots are 10-2, so they're 3 games off the pace with 6 games to go. Where we look over in the other division, and we see that the Texans are 6-5, which means they're 2 games off the Colts' pace and on a 3-game winning streak. So, surprise, I think, for a lot of people, but as you guys said very well, Buffalo's a bigger mess than we think they are, and Houston's defense, Tim, as you said, is unstoppable. All right, let's go to Chicago, where they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-28. They were 3.5-point favorites, and hey, they won by 3 points, so Vegas knows their stuff. But is this? Are we starting to see? Should we worry, Josh? Because as you know, the Ravens have been on a 5-game winning streak. Pittsburgh's on their 1-game losing streak. They're both 6-5 now. Should Pittsburgh start to panic? Looking a little different than the start of the season.
I think so, but equally, the Baltimore Ravens have not looked fantastic either. They're kind of getting by the last few games. Lamar Jackson is very clearly hurt. He's dealing with a lot of different injuries. We know that he missed some time, but he's still injured. He's not moving around like he was. They haven't been a high-powered offense the last couple of games with him. But, the Pittsburgh Steelers now, I think they're tied, but the Ravens are above them, so they have already lost that spot at this point in time.
Right. Ravens are technically number 1 in the division.
Yeah. So the Steelers have, choked out of that position, but it's still, of course, equal record. But if you look at the Steelers, they did not complete a pass over 20 air yards in the month of November. And so that obviously, if you dump it off to your running back and get 20 yards, that's not air yards. Air yards is completing the pass over 20 yards. They're 0 for 11 with 2 interceptions. So the quarterback play, Mason Rudolph in this game, Aaron Rodgers the previous 3 games, there was only on passes over 20 yards, there was 2 interceptions, 0 yards gained. If you looked at the beginning of the broadcast, I think it was CBS, they showed that, let me go to it. This is 60 consecutive games with 7 or fewer points in the first quarter. So the Pittsburgh Steelers for 61 games now have not scored over a touchdown in the first quarter. So they've essentially never rolled out and, started off the game extremely well on offense. Obviously 60 games being a long track record there.
I don't think there was any surprise in how this game was going to turn out, but I think I am surprised to see how stale the Pittsburgh's offense has become. And Mason Rudolph, he does fine, but go ahead, Kev, you had a point.
Yeah, the Bears, they're a great football team this year. They started out a little slow. They're actually leading their division. Sorry, Tim. They're 8-3.
Okay, sorry.
They're on a 4-game
win streak. Let's see them play someone real.
Yeah.
Five of their 8 wins, they came back in the fourth quarter. So I think that's all coaching. That's all because of Ben Johnson being there. The Bears in previous years, that would not have happened. They would have lost those games.
That's right.
Caleb Williams is playing great football lately. They're getting DJ Moore involved finally. The run game is looking like a 50-50 split. It's consistent. I know Swift had a turnover in this game, but they've just been consistent and then winning games when it matters in the fourth quarter. So that's the difference, the culture change, in my opinion. The Steelers, they're probably going to squeak out a 500 season and make the wild card still. Like, that's what they do. It's not that scary to them, but the Bears leading the division is probably one of the more surprising things, much like the Patriots. But 8-3 over the Lions and the Packers is surprising to me.
Yeah, I want to see what the Bears do. These next few weeks are going to be very telling. Bears have had a soft schedule, and that's not the Bears' fault at all. Like, you play who the schedule tells you to play.
That's
and
right.
I feel like I was talking to my son earlier today, and we were talking about how the Bears are similar to Washington last year, where Washington was able to squeak out some of these games at the end, and you go, okay, is it luck? Is it? I don't want to. That sounds like a cheap shot at the Bears. They've won the games, but there is a little bit of luck involved in football, right? Or
Sure.
the bounce has gone the right way. The one red flag still I see with the Bears is Caleb Williams. 4 straight games now in a row where his completion percentage is under 59%. So he's still, he's making the clutch throws when he needs to, but just as far as consistency in his passing game with his completion percentage, that's an area. And he's a young quarterback still, but if you're a Bears fan, you've got to be happy. My gosh, you're at this point in the year and you're in first place, and you got a lot to look forward to, I think.
Yeah, and to mention the teams that Tim's talking about, the schedule that they've had. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers, but of course they played Mason Rudolph. The week prior, they played J.J. McCarthy, everyone's favorite man right now. The New York Giants, I don't recall, was that the game that Jackson Dart left or not? Yeah, it had to have been. And then they played the Bengals, of course, with a backup quarterback there. The Baltimore Ravens, I think that was a game that Lamar Jackson was not playing. Spencer Rattler, the Washington Commanders. Let me double check and make sure that was not Jaden Daniels. It was Jaden Daniels. Wow.
Oh.
But then the Raiders. So that stretch, basically the only starting quarterback they played against were Geno Smith and Jaden Daniels, and everyone else has been a reserve player or essentially a rookie in J.J. McCarthy and Jackson Dart. So to Tim's credit, it is very similar to the Washington Commanders season last year. So definitely something to look forward to and look at as they face, better competition going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, I'm going to give you 3 games, guys. You can talk about any of them when I get done with the 3. Chime in, but they're no-brainers. We had New England 7.5-point favorites. They beat Cincinnati 26-20. Train keeps on rolling. I believe they're on a huge winning streak. What is it, 9 now that they've won in a row? Detroit took care of business, 11.5-point favorites over the Giants, 34-27 in Green Bay. Tim, your Packers beat Minnesota. We'll unpack any of these you want, 23-6. All great games. For a while, the Giants were making it a little scary for Detroit. We're trying to play a little bit with them. Josh and I sat here, Tim, and we watched the Giants, who had a chance to kick a field goal, choose to go for it.
Down. My gosh, what are you doing? Just kick that field goal.
Yeah,
you go up by 6.
Why are people not taking points and putting them on the board anymore?
I don't. I think
the game.
I don't understand why teams live under the assumption that the team they're playing against is just going to score a touchdown.
Right.
Because obviously in their thought process, they're up 3. If they score a touchdown, it's 2 possessions. But there's so little time. If you have 6 points, you're forcing them to score a touchdown, in which they already were, a 59-yard field goal to tie it because they went for it and did not get that second field goal. So as you're saying, poor decision-making for the coaching staff there.
Yeah. Tim, I'll ask you this because this hits home being in your division. We've said for what now? What episode? 14 episodes. J.J. McCarthy's not good. No. I'm starting to see Minnesota Viking fans on social media start asking questions. Listen to us, Minnesota Viking fans. J.J. McCarthy is not good, Tim.
He is not good. And the sad part, if you're a Vikings fan, is they have a great roster. They actually have a really good team. I was saying to someone today, if they had just kept Sam Darnold, I think they'd be leading the division. And not only would they be leading the division, they might even be one of the top teams in the NFC. Mm-hmm. That's how good of a roster I think they have. And I like their coach a lot. I think he knows what he's doing. I just think J.J. McCarthy is killing this team. Packers sacked him 5 times, 10 quarterback hits on him. Terrible. I mean, Micah Parsons, it looked like he was playing a middle school team, like the way J.J. McCarthy just looked so bad. And it was a combination. Packers do have a good defense, but he just does not look good. He does not look comfortable at all. And I know if you listen to the broadcast, they talked about Justin Jefferson having him over for dinner and Adam Thielen. They're trying to spend time with him and they believe in him. And those are all good things to say. But at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. You have to be able to produce on the field. And so I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's not good at football right now.
No, he's not good at football.
Yeah. Does Caleb have something to say about J.J. McCarthy? If not, I have a decent amount of stuff just to kind of relay.
Yeah, you can look at it statistically, like Tim was saying, and Justin Jefferson's production is literally halved. He doesn't do nearly what he's doing with other quarterbacks. I know it was Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, but still. And I think Vikings fans should question Kevin O'Connell's not leadership, but what his decision making is right now, because he is supposed to be the quarterback guy. He resurrected Baker Mayfield on the Rams. He had Matt Stafford. He brought Sam Darnold out of the grave. And he's not doing anything with this guy. He's not improving him. He's not helping him. His emotions aren't getting better. His mechanics are getting worse. The quarterback's decision-making has been worse. The plays aren't really tailored to him. So I just don't really understand. I'm not a Vikings fan. What they see in this guy. Yeah. Anyway, that's more of a rant than a point. But Josh,
yeah. Well, I think it's worth mentioning the last 3 quarterbacks they've drafted in the top 3 rounds have not survived. Well, that would be including JJ McCarthy, but the previous 2 rookie quarterbacks they've drafted in the day 1 or day 2, the other 2 were day 2, have not survived their rookie contract. So they've ended up getting cut from that. JJ McCarthy, of course, 6 games in, we're not projecting that, but he looks like a guy that would get cut during his first contract or at least traded. So we've kind of hit the teams. I had a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to get what I have to say about McCarthy out of the way, and then I won't be talking quite as much. But J.J. McCarthy, 87 yards, 2 interceptions. The last quarterback to do this was David Carr in 2002, according to a couple of quarterback watchers on the internet. He's last in quarterback completion percentage in the NFL right now, last in touchdown interception ratio, last in passer rating. And this is from Wide Left Football. They said on throws less than 10 yards, he's had 3.14 seconds to throw the ball from snap to release, meaning him throwing the football within 0 or 1 to 9 yards, he's had more time than the average amount of time a quarterback has. Obviously, he has ample amount of time there to throw the football. He's taking a lot of time on short passes. That's a problem. So overall, he has a second total time to throw the football from snap to release in the NFL. He still has ample of time, short throws, long throws, everything. He has the lowest yards per attempt in the NFL. If you adjust to all the backups being above him or below him, wherever it shall be, you look through the numbers, he's the one that's starting and is at the lowest. He has the highest sack percentage in the NFL at 10.58 right now. It's just across the board, bottom of everything, and it's of course a problem. And their future is a problem because there's no one behind him other than a rookie quarterback, Max Brosmer. So,
who's likely going to see
some Max Brosmer? I love Max Brosmer. Yeah. Real quick, not to pile on the guy, but like I said last week, you have Hockenson there. He's literally been irrelevant. He's a Pro Bowl tight end. Jordan Addison was one of the best receivers last year. Young receivers is irrelevant outside of a few long touchdowns. And Justin Jefferson is half of what he's supposed to be. So and Aaron Jones, who's a Pro Bowl running back, is doing nothing. He's getting like 50 yards a game. Jordan Mason's irrelevant. They can't run the ball. It's sickening as a football fan. It's just not supposed to be this way. Because the Vikings are so good.
The challenge I'm seeing, Tim, is they're 4-7 right now. The Bears are 8-3, winning that division currently. That's a 4-game stretch, 4-game lead, and the other 2 teams are, your team and the Lions are only 1 game behind with 7 wins. So I don't see a scenario with which in this season they don't have enough time. There's 6 games left. They don't have enough time. They just don't have enough time.
Yeah. Nope, the time has run out. Yep.
So unfortunately, 100%. I agree with everything y'all said. What I hate about what we get to do sometimes is it sounds like we're hating on people, and we're not. The kid's great. I'd love to have him over for a cookout. I'm sure he's a lot of fun. Probably throws a mean cornhole. But as a passer of the football, I'm not impressed. Yeah. So, you got to have a good quarterback, especially when right now your division has 3 promising, relatively young other than Goff quarterbacks. They've got to keep suit. They're on the clock because their team is great, as you said. They're loaded weapons, and yet they landed with this guy. All right, enough said. Let's move on. Seattle took care of Tennessee, no problem there, 30-24. We all expected that. Baltimore, as I mentioned before, on a winning streak, 23-10 over the Jets. Let's stop with the 20-23 Kansas City Chiefs win over Indianapolis. Guys, we can unpack it if you want. Let me just say my piece about this one. Kansas City's a perennial Super Bowl team. They know how to win. Winning's a culture. They know how to win. They started off slow. Yeah, I've been telling our good friend, Becca, just relax. Let the season get going. It's going. I kind of expected KC to win at home. If they were in Indianapolis, I probably would have expected them to win at home. if you're an Indianapolis fan, hey, keep believing. Your team's great. But they went against a great team and just didn't make it happen. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts beyond that?
Yeah, my only thought would be I actually felt like in watching this game, it was more of an Indianapolis loss than a Kansas City win, to be honest with you. I'm still not completely sold on Kansas City. I know it's stupid. How could I not be after all these years? But this season in particular, I'm not sold. All Indianapolis had to do was run the ball. Their fourth quarter play calling was absolutely horrendous. They had 4 straight 3-and-outs where they gave the ball to Danny Dimes and had him throwing the ball. It not nearly on the same scale, but the reminiscent of like the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl, where all they had to do was run the clock out when the Falcons were up so much all those years ago.
Right.
Again, obviously not that big, not that magnitude of a game, but all Indianapolis had to do was hand it to the best running back in football. It was more, to me, it was more of a matter of Indianapolis blowing the game versus Kansas City winning the game. That was my takeaway from it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And the Chiefs really just tried to keep the ball away from them. When Daniel Jones had the opportunity, he was leading his receivers a lot. I know he missed Josh Downs. They weren't connecting there a couple of times. It ended a couple of different drives. But as Tim mentioned, 16 rushes for Jonathan Taylor, 41 for the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs were controlling the clock. They're holding on to the clock, ensuring themselves that, that Jonathan Taylor wouldn't get the ball back. And so, like Tim said, it felt like they were keeping away and kind of holding on to this win that the Colts were losing in this game.
Caleb?
Yeah. Like Tim said, the play calling in the fourth quarter was just sad. Daniel Jones, 19 of 31, no interceptions. But his leading receiver was Ashton Doolin on 1 catch, 48 yards. He's their 6th or 7th target on this team, 4th or 5th receiver on the depth chart. He's leading your team in 1 catch in receiving. So they're not really doing anything. So shout out to Spagnuolo calling the defense for the Chiefs. I think that's what won the game. Yeah. And just the play calling on the offensive side of the ball for the Colts is just embarrassing. It's not good. It was Taylor's worst game of the year, I think. 3.6 yard average per run. He only had 58 rushing yards. So run the ball, like Tim was saying. I mean, that's all you have to do. Run the ball 20 times, and that'll work itself out in the way. So run the clock out. You don't want to give Mahomes. Mahomes did not have a passing touchdown in this game. 300 yards, no passing touchdown, and then the Colts still lost. So they need to do a better coaching job, I think, in that game. Going forward, do what they did not do in this game.
For sure. All right, I'm going to give you 4 scores, then or 5 scores. Then we're going to come back and we're going to unpack a couple of the games if we could. But let's run down the rest of the regular Sunday scores. Cleveland goes to Las Vegas, pulls out the win, the upset, 24-10. Jacksonville in a tough game, man. We can unpack these when I'm done. Jacoby Brissett. Arizona looks good with this guy. They just can't seem to win. 27-24 Jacksonville. Philadelphia, Dallas, an upset. Dallas 24-21. Gets the victory. Atlanta 24-10 over New Orleans, and Tampa Bay loses Baker Mayfield, thus losing the game to the red-hot Rams 34-7. Now, 2 topics I want to talk about. We can talk about anything else as well, of course. Cleveland Browns are going with their 2nd rookie quarterback of the year. We've been very critical of Shador. I still don't know the appeal. I still don't know why people feel like this guy's getting robbed for some reason. Most third-string quarterbacks don't get the time of day, but for some reason this guy's, it's like we owe him something. They win the game, and I'm sure you guys have some thoughts. Tim, what were your thoughts on Shador Sanders and his greatness?
I mean, I don't think he was that great, to be honest with you. I mean, to me, that you guys could hit on that in a minute, give some stats on that. But I want to talk about Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a beast, and we don't talk about him enough. Everyone knows, oh yeah, Myles Garrett. The guy's got 18 sacks right now with 6 games left in the season. We all know the record's 22.5, right? So he will most likely break the single season sack record. He is just so disruptive. And when you have a defense like that, I mean, it helps the entire team.
It does.
Yeah, he just incredibly impressive. Shador, not incredibly impressive in my opinion.
Caleb?
But I'll let Josh and Caleb take those one. Take Shador. Go for it.
Okay. This has nothing to do with him. I don't know him. But people don't like the showboating, so we'll say that. But despite leading Week 12, this is a little long-winded, so bear with me. Despite leading Week 12 in yards per attempt, 10.4 yards per attempt, Shador recorded the lowest QBR, 8.7. lower than J.J. McCarthy. So if you watched that game, it was worse than that.
Right.
Though he had 3 big plays, one of them was the 66-yard screen pass to Sampson that was for the touchdown. That doesn't really help QBR because it's a screen. So this is it's a specific metric. Keep in mind that in QBR, an 8-yard pass on 3rd and 11, like Sanders had in the third quarter, is a negative play. So those long plays that don't convert, they hurt him as a quarterback.
Right.
Jerry Jeudy's fumble, to clarify for people, Jerry Jeudy's fumble, where Jerry Jeudy was trying to make the decision on whether to go out of bounds or keep running, and they punched it out. That does not count against Shador's stats. His QBR is not affected by a fumble. Right. People keep saying that if he didn't do that, it would help Shador. That's a fallacy.
That's right.
Sanders provided 0 rushing yards and 0 designated runs and no scrambles outside the pocket. He threw 1 interception, which came on a 1st and 10. Therefore, for QBR, it's the worst thing you can do. Though it was just 1 turnover because Sanders had only 24 plays this game to pass the ball that weren't running plays. He recorded the highest in the week, 4.3 turnover rate. So in the little window we saw him play 24 pass attempts, he had the worst QBR in the league, and he had the highest turnover rate. They still won the game. Granted, Myles Garrett had 4 sacks, and they're playing great defensive game. So Shador got the win. He has the stat on his belt saying he's the first rookie quarterback in like 30 years for the Browns to win their first start. And people are going to post that as if he's better than Baker Mayfield, better than all these other guys that have been there. I think when you have to make excuses for these guys, then you're already, like with J.J. McCarthy, we saw it. Zach Wilson, we saw it. With Will Levis, all these other guys. When you start making excuses and cherry-picking stats on why they're good, that's going to be disappointing for you, I think. It's also the Raiders, who just fired their OC. They played a terrible game, not good at all. Their number 1 receiver was Trey Tucker. He had 10 targets and like 30 yards, did nothing. So the Browns really had an easy win. I said last week it would be a defensive game, boring to watch, which it kind of was. I know it was 24-10. 2 rushing touchdowns for the rookie Judkins. But Shador Sanders, I think he can progress in this league. He's going to have a lot to deal with next week in San Francisco. So I would say pump the brakes. He's a rookie quarterback. He was drafted in the 5th round. Wasn't the first quarterback drafted on his team. Let's slow down. He's not his dad. Let's just separate the two. And let's see what happens. Let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, I think this says, this game, he couldn't have had a more ideal situation, all things considered, to start against the LA Raiders at this point in the season, or LV Raiders rather. They put up 10 points, as Caleb mentioned. They haven't been a good offense, and there's a reason. I don't think any one of us, when we went into the season, when we said the Raiders would be, at least a quality contender, at least, they're going to be a trouble for the teams that are contending.
They'd be a trouble. That's all we said. There'd be a problem.
Yeah. But I don't think a single person in that analysis would have attributed that success to Chip Kelly.
No.
So, of course, Mark Davis goes out and he pays Chip Kelly off of a quality season with the Ohio State team. They won the championship last year. He pays him immediately the highest paid coordinator, period, in the NFL. A guy that was fired from the NFL. This is one of those Urban Meyer moves where it's just he's got the name, he's got the reputation of some time. We're just going to pay him max money, and I don't know why. But the offense, obviously, that was just, they aren't clicking at all. The defense is not clicking at all. To speak on Shador Sanders, I think we just need to pump the brakes. I think we need to see at least him against a quality team, which we'll see next week against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, at the end of the day, he went 11 of 20, 55% completion, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. We saw the deep shot to Isaiah Bond, which was an all-out blitz from the Raiders. They somehow did not get to him. Tyree Wilson couldn't touch him. I don't know who the next defender was, couldn't touch him. So he leaked out to the right, launched it to Isaiah Bond. It was one-on-one. That's the play that we're highlighting. And the second play is a bubble screen to Dylan Sampson, I believe, for a 66-yard touchdown.
It was all yak, by the way.
I'm saying there's 2 quality plays that he took advantage of. That's great for him. And then there was an egregious interception. And what appears to be a very good matchup for a quarterback. I just think, what he did, yes, first win for a Cleveland Brown rookie in their first start. He did fantastic, all things considered. But I think it's going to be a completely different story when we play against a team in the San Francisco 49ers. And then just one more thing. Shedeur, when he played against the Baltimore Ravens, the previous week wasn't his first start, but he played most of that game. They had 9 blitzes against Shedeur Sanders, the Baltimore Ravens did. He had 0 completions against that team. The Raiders only ran 15% of their defensive plays as blitzes against Shedeur Sanders. This comes from Underdog Fantasy. But, yeah, the Raiders opting in to not pressure the immobile quarterback who does not do well under pressure and gets sacks and takes sacks a lot. It's just, I don't think that they were prepared. I think, honestly, it shows more that their preparation, and they were saying, hey, this guy can't pass. Let's just get to him. Not so often. Let's just cover him. Yeah. I just don't understand the game plan when you know the previous game, you blitz him, he's going to be flustered. He's already a rookie. We already understand how rookies play under pressure. The game plan just didn't make sense to me in this one at all.
Help me while I'm making this analogy. If you took his 2 bubble screens or those 2 passes to his running backs that end up becoming points at the end, take those 2 numbers and add them together and deduct it from his total yards. I'm curious what he had. Here's why I say that, because he easily could have thrown those out and then the guy gets tackled and no gain. Because they both, were all the running back, both of the players made the play. My point is he's not hucking it downfield, and at all. Let's be fair.
Well, the first one was just 1-on-1 busted play.
Yeah, but I mean, you, without those 2 plays, that's also 14 points off the board. We have a 10-10 tie, and he's very pedestrian. Is my point. And this goes back to what we said. What we said in the very beginning. Again, it has nothing to do with character. I'm sure these guys are great guys. But we said this 14 weeks ago. We said these 2 guys don't look like guys who throw football well. They don't look like guys who should be starting in the NFL. And the proof is in the pudding for one of them. And now we're about to find out, about the second one. So
the second one, I think, was already in the pudding when he fell 4 rounds past every team in the league and then finally got picked up in the 5th. I think that's more evidence that's enough evidence, I mean.
Right.
I think, of course, we kind of mentioned everything about him. You said, take away the 2 big plays. I think you could do that for anyone with their big plays. Of course, there's busted plays.
Of course.
There's blitzes that turn into deep touchdowns. Without those 2 plays, he would have had 91 yards. Well, once again, he only threw for 209 yards. They didn't really trust him either. I mean, in the red zone, we saw the double wildcat touchdown from Quinshad Judkins.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trusting him enough to be in there in the red zone to take care of the football there at this point in time. So I think he took care of business. He did well with what he had. I just think that the matchup was more than ideal with how the Raiders played, not blitzing him at all, messing up on defense, even on those blitzes where they had him. It was just a poor game plan against him. And I think that the Raiders honestly underestimated, him going into this game.
Maybe. I think they did everything they needed to do as far as their respect for him. Tim, you look like you have something you want to add.
No, I just when Josh is talking, I'm just thinking to myself, how are these professional coordinators missing this? Right, just the week before. This wasn't like way back in the archives. Just 1 week earlier, he was 0 for 9 against the blitz. Wouldn't that be like major red flag?
Here's your sign.
Right? Yeah, here's your sign. Like, just throw the blitz at him nonstop. It baffles me to have these coordinators are making millions, and we could sit here and just as armchair observers of football see that. So
yeah.
To their credit, the Raiders have already fired 2 of their coordinators.
Right. So
which is rare for Pete
Just
Carroll.
one more left. Yeah.
Hey, anything about Jacksonville and Arizona, Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and LA that anybody has before we talk about the last 2 games here?
Real quick, LA. Devontae Adams is the 8th receiver in history to have 1,000 catches and what was it? I just forgot the stat in my brain. Jeez, that's terrible. 100 touchdowns, 1,000 catches. He's the 8th receiver ever to do that. So Devontae Adams looks like a Hall of Famer trajectory. I mean, if you're 8th in something, you're probably a Hall of Famer when everyone ahead of you is a Hall of Famer. I think Matt Stafford separated himself in this game as the MVP candidate. I think he will be the MVP candidate if he continues this. He's playing great football. I think they kept him in the game in the 4th quarter so he could keep getting yards. And then Baker Mayfield, obviously, with the shoulder injury, which is sad to see. That team has been through injury Hades this year at every position. So they're likely out of contention, in my opinion. Depending on how long the AC joint keeps them out, it's probably going to be a few weeks. But the Rams look great.
Yeah, that division, the Bucks are 6-5, Panthers 6-6, Falcons 4-7, Saints 2-9. Likely, without Baker Mayfield, don't know how good this team is going to be. And of course, we talk about the Rams. They're 9-2, Seahawks 8-3, 49ers 8-4, Cardinals 3-8. Again, Cardinals, good football team, just can't seem to get the wins, even though their quarterback play, in my opinion, has been much better. So this division looks like a 2 to 3-way race. Rams, Seahawks, 49ers. Personally, Tim, I don't see the Rams losing momentum unless Matthew Stafford or something major happens. I mean, this looks like the team to beat out of the NFC right now to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that watches football would say that they are clearly the best team right now. You do wonder, if teams peak too soon or things like that. We've just when we think we've figured things out this season, right? We're like, oh, so-and-so's a bad team. So-and-so's a good team. And then we're like, oh, wait a second, right? But no, you're absolutely right, Dave. I mean, at this point, to me, the toughest game they have left is a game. I think it's a Thursday night game coming up in Seattle, maybe in 2 weeks, possibly. Mm-hmm. That'll be a good one. That'll just be a fun game. But, that'll test them and get them ready for the playoffs. But Matthew Stafford's looking incredible. Just top to bottom, they have a very full roster, very complete roster.
Yeah, to be honest, had they beat the Eagles like the part of the game that looked like they would, they'd be 10-1 right now, have the best record in football. So go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, Caleb mentioning Matthew Stafford being the MVP frontrunner right now. I think he has 27 touchdowns since his last interception. So, of course, I mean, to end the season with 27 touchdowns, I think he has 30 right now. But to end it on a 27 streak to 0 interceptions, of course, very exceptional. Davante Adams, you mentioned a couple of numbers for him. He has the most touchdowns on the 1-yard line from any receiver in the history of the game. So goal line back, Davante Adams, goal line receiver, Davante Adams. He's now the best, most successful guy in the history of the league. And then you look at him versus Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua there for several years now only has one more receiving touchdown than Davante Adams as a Ram. Wow. So Davante Adams scoring at an extremely high rate. Not unfamiliar to him. Tim knows. Tim saw it for years and years. He scores very often. He's very talented. He's still the same guy at this point in his career. And Matthew Stafford elevating receivers once again. Puka Nacua, Davante Adams playing at a very high level.
Yeah, let me just say for the, 37, 38, Matthew Stafford, 2,830 yards already, 30 touchdowns already, just 2 interceptions, 113.7 QBR. His highest quarterback rating, let me scroll down the wheel here, in his career, it looks like.
Yeah.
And to do it over 10 games.
2 wide receiver ones. That's an easy way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't hurt. Speaking of 2 wide receiver ones, Jerry Jones today was on the radio saying that to the answer to the question, do they expect to have George Pickens playing for the Dallas Cowboys next year? And Jerry acknowledged, of course, that if you didn't hear it, it's on their radio network. I didn't think non-Cowboy fans would. That he fully expects to have George Pickens remain a Dallas Cowboy. Now, that said, there's no contract, no deal, but obviously Jerry has eyeballs, like I told you off air, Josh, and people with eyeballs can see Dallas has. Maybe George Pickens is the clear number 1 in Dallas now, based on a couple of drops that CD's had. That's uncanny to me, but we won't go down that point. Here's a point: 21 points for the Philadelphia Eagles in the first half, clearly in control. Tim, I was sick on the couch. I didn't want to watch the game. I was starting to grumble. I was praying a lot, so I didn't have to focus on the hate that was stirring in my heart. And then the boys, especially Caleb, you've been very optimistic this year about how good the Cowboys actually are, which you normally aren't. You're normally the one to be like, Dad, we're trash.
Eberflus is a good defensive coach.
Okay.
Every halftime this game that Dallas was playing poorly in the first half, the second half is completely different. They didn't allow the Eagles to score a point in the second half. They're still fine-tuning that linebacker room. Everyone's still kind of playing a quarter of the game. Overshown played 30% of the game, had 5 tackles this game, which is good for 30%. The DBs are still moved around. Bland's back at nickel. It's where he should be. It's where he led the league in interceptions. He's finally back there. We're waiting on Trayvon to get healthy. But the defense is still figuring it out. I mean, the 0 points allowed in the second half is very encouraging to me. With the Eagles, how fast they scored those points. The Dallas also had 2 turnovers in the Eagles' territory, which was hurtful to watch. But yeah, Cowboys, the coaching is much better than it's been in past years with the defensive side of the ball. So I'm encouraged. They still have one of the best kickers in the league. Dak's been playing great. And then, like you said, George Pickens is playing out of his mind, second in receiving yards, over 1,000 yards already. Behind JSN, we'll talk about at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, Dallas, I'm optimistic. They're 5-5. They're playing the Chiefs. Prime time. Tony Romo is going to be commentating, which is a blessing and a curse for Dallas fans.
Nah, it'll be good.
But I think the Chiefs, and we'll talk about it later, but the Cowboys I think they're trending up at the right time.
Yeah, Tim,
biggest comeback in Cowboys history. Is that true?
Tied.
Tied.
They've been
Tied.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Tim, I'm curious. Two questions. I want to hear your feedback, but also when you're done, I want you to answer. The boys think I'm a hater because I think CD has his drops have cost us. Both games against the Eagles, his drops didn't cost us this time. Cost us the first game, has cost us before. So I'd love to hear your take on that. But tell us about your take as a non-Cowboys or Eagles fan. What do you thought about the game?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, this has to be the game of the year for you. I mean, that is a phenomenal, gritty win. I mean, talk about coming back against your rival, against basically the Eagles were basically trying to end your season right there. You know, I think if a loss to the Eagles, especially a blowout loss, might have really made it very, very difficult. And I know you're still the NFC is tough this year, but phenomenal win. I thought it just showed such grit. If I'm a Dallas fan. Eagles fan, again, I feel like a broken record, but just when you start to think, you know, I know I wasn't on last week with you, and if I was going to say, guys, we need to stop saying we don't know what the Eagles are. They keep winning, they keep finding ways to win, but then they go ahead and do this. So it's like one step forward, two steps back. So I'm not sure about the Eagles. That offense, the play calling, Jalen Hurts. I will say, going back to your question about CD, 8 drops this year. 6 of the 8, ironically, have been against the Eagles, right? 3 in the first game, 3 in the second, and this week. I don't know. I mean, it's a great debate to be able to have whether CD is the better receiver than George Pickens. The fact, I think most teams are very envious of you guys. I don't know that there's too many other teams out there that have 2 number ones like you guys do, other than the team we were just talking about, the Rams. But if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm ecstatic, and I'm a Philly fan, I'm still just as confused as I was maybe back on week 1.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, I think they're both wide receiver ones. I think CeeDee Lamb is still the wide receiver one. I think this is similar to a Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley situation on the Falcons, where they were both putting up wide receiver one numbers, but Calvin Ridley had a hotter streak and scored more touchdowns that year, and people were like, Julio's not the number one anymore. We've seen this multiple times.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. And Antonio Brown, yep. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the year Chris Godwin was second in fantasy. So we've seen this multiple times. I still think CeeDee Lamb's a great receiver. I don't think it hurts him at all. Obviously, he's had some bad drops, like we've said, but George Pickens can be a wide receiver one, and CeeDee Lamb can still be a wide receiver one. So who's the wide receiver one in the Cowboys is a great problem to have. I think I love that problem. The more the merrier. I think that.
And I'll just add on to that, Caleb, that most teams, when you're playing, they don't have 2 stud defensive cornerbacks. So they've got to pick. Right. So depending on who they're choosing, by default, the other guy could wind up with the bigger game just based on that simple analysis.
My only point, Tim, is when Juju made a Brown lose his mind and want to quit Pittsburgh because he was so good that year, AB was still catching the ball on the other side of the field. CD's not. Yeah. Not when it matters, And it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because the games are over and CD's gotten the money and he's a great guy and I don't want to lose him. I'm not saying cut CD Lamb. Right. I'm not a moron. Right. No. I'm just saying it's frustrating to see a guy of that caliber drop easy ones.
I understand that
are catching.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah. I get that.
Josh,
especially against the Eagles.
Bring us home, Josh. Let me see the back of that shirt you're wearing, by the way. You got to step out a little bit. Yeah. I see the front. There it is. Okay.
There it is. There he is.
Is that the autographed one?
Yes, this is the former team one. So 14. It's not Kenneth Gainwell. I swear, you just saw it. It is in fact George Pickens.
Why would it be?
But I think the discussion of CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. I think it's kind of it's I think it's over discussed. I mean, for a guy, week 1, CeeDee Lamb, 110 yards in that game. We're talking about 2 plays where he was asked to do a lot on desperate plays from the offense, and he wasn't able to convert them. I understand, him being a top-level receiver, a top 3 receiver at one point, being the number 1 receiver in a season 2 seasons ago. Yes, you want him to make those plays. but 110 yards in that game, 4 catches for 75 yards against the Eagles this last week. It's not like he's going out there and just doing absolutely nothing. His totals, 110 yards, 112 yards, 110 yards and a touchdown, 75 yards, 85 yards, 66 yards and a touchdown, 75 yards and a touchdown. Both players are doing extremely well.
Yeah,
and like Caleb mentioned, there's been times where there's been a number 2 receiver that has benefited largely. George Pickens, we know, is probably better than a lot of those guys. But in the similar conversation, a guy like Calvin Ridley, who was, I think his rookie year had 8, 10, 12 touchdowns, whatever he had. He was scoring more than Julio Jones, and there was a big thing. Well, this guy's way better than Julio Jones in the red zone. He's a better scorer. Is he a better receiver? It's a moot point. It's irrelevant. You have 2 fantastic receivers. You know, a guy that is very capable of being number 1 in the league, and now a guy who's also very capable of being number 1 overall in the league, and George Pickens, currently number 2 in the NFL. When you look at drops, I think Devontae Adams in his second year had 12 drops. Obviously, elite player. It sucks for that season. You hate to see it, situationally, like you're saying, in these 2 Eagles games. It's rough, but to discount him as a player overall because of a stretch of games like this, like we know what he's capable of. We have to relax a little bit. You can hate him in the moment, but don't hate him overall. I think we need to give him some break there. But yes, especially for that guy, which is probably half of the Cowboys jerseys floating around right now. But you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, 21 points in the first half. I think the Cowboys played a better game overall. I know they had a slow start, but they had turnovers on downs several times. They had several fumbles on the opposite side of the football field, on the Eagles side of the field. Kevontae Turpin, one being the early one, the obvious one, the one where no one touched him. I think the Eagles they're oddly just a one-half team. But also, I think you're going to have a special teams change for them. Xavier Gibson, who was released from the New York Jets for his fumbling problem, he goes in here. For some reason, he fields that kick very close to the end zone and then runs out and fumbles it. Well, if you look at him and what he's done, he was cut because of fumbles. He has 38 career touches and 12 fumbles. So almost 1/3 of his touches have been fumbles.
Man.
Now he's only lost 5 of those, but 12 fumbles.
He's in the wrong profession. I think.
Crazy.
But 1 out of every 3 is hitting the ground. That's what I'm hearing.
He is not practicing this week, so he's probably not playing. But
Don't trot that guy out there again. Good Lord, that's terrible.
I think I could do better than that guy.
Yeah, maybe.
What the heck?
It makes you
but
go.
when he catches it and he doesn't fumble it, it's beautiful. It's just he's going to fumble it 1/3 of the time.
Fire those scouts.
How many punts are in a game? Is he guaranteed to fumble a game at this point?
I don't know.
Pretty much. Wow. All right, let me ask y'all a serious question because this is not this is up for debate. Dallas has the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Chargers.
Yeesh.
Yeah. That's their next 4 games. I mean, I'm looking at I don't think they can run the table personally. I'm looking at 2 and 2.
Get 8 wins.
Well, it looks a little tough. I'm not going to lie. And then, of course, they finish out the season with Commanders and Giants. I didn't say that because I'm assuming those are 2 wins. But a lot of people are picking Dallas to beat the Chiefs. We'll talk about that. Last game, we're going to move into next week. We're going to move on from this. San Francisco, of course, beat Carolina. A lot of people thought this would be closer than it was, but San Francisco is who we think they are. 20-9 ball game, prime time, despite what was turnover fest. And now Carolina has a lot of injuries. Hey, let's talk about this wonderful holiday weekend. We have a bunch of games happening on Thursday and Friday. Week 13 starts with Green Bay going to Detroit, 2.5-point favorites at home. Guys, I'm taking Detroit at home. I like a home team when it's close, so I always I'm bad about that. What do you guys got?
Josh?
Don't all jump in at once.
I want to say the Packers.
Okay. Are you going to say the Packers, or do you want to say it?
I'm trying to look up.
I'll say Packers. I'll do it. You can look that up.
Tim,
Okay,
I know
go
you're
ahead.
taking the Packers.
I say Packers. The Lions have been playing pretty bad the last 2 weeks. They're coming off 2 losses, right? No, they just beat the Giants.
Yeah.
They played poorly in that game. That shouldn't have been that close.
Whatever you need to make your point.
No, listen. The Packers are coming out of their slump. I think they had a couple rough games. Obviously, Josh Jacobs not playing last week. Emmanuel Wilson filled in admirably, had like almost 30 touches, had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Really just sealed the game for him because with J.J. McCarthy throwing the ball. No. Am I right? Yeah. See,
Yep.
I'm watching right now on my screen. Micah Parsons sacking somebody else, so my bad. But yeah, I think the Lions are playing bad enough that they're in a little slump themselves. And I think that the front seven that y'all have with Micah Parsons and everybody else you have, hopefully Quay Walker's back, is one of my favorite players in the league. But
Yeah.
pressure Jared Goff. We've seen this happen for 2 games now. Darius Alexander, the rookie, last week, the defensive tackle, pressured him the entire game and pestered him the entire game. It was not fun for Jared Goff. And I think that y'all could do that, obviously, if you're one of the best edge rushers in the league in Micah Parsons. So I think that formula is going to repeat. Hopefully Josh Jacobs is back, crossing my fingers. But I don't think it really matters. Y'all can really run the clock out there and just play keep away. We've seen it in previous weeks with the Eagles beating the Lions. I just think it's an easy formula, in my opinion. You pressure Jared Goff, you stop Jahmyr Gibbs. The 2 things you have to do.
Sounds easy. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, Caleb stole my notes. That's exactly right, Caleb. No, I'm just joking. That's exactly right, man. You're exactly right on. Jared Goff is a great quarterback, but I just the pressure that the Packers have been applying lately with Micah up the middle, Rashawn Gary, if Quay's back, the Packers have a very good defense. I'm going Packers, not because I'm a homer. I've picked against them this year, and I don't think it's an easy win. I'm not going to be shocked if they lose this game. I think both teams are very good teams. But like Caleb said, I do think Detroit's in a little bit of a slump right now, just a little bit. That was not. I would not be super excited that they barely beat the Giants last week. Just like I wasn't super excited that we barely beat the Giants a few weeks before. I think Packers.
Okay, Josh, you're up.
Yeah, I was kind of just pulling up a brief history of the Thanksgiving game just for a moment. It started in 1934, the Lions and the Thanksgiving. That's been synonymous since 1934. They took a break in 1939 to 1944. You can guess why, but World War II was going on, so they took a break there kindly. And then they had a long stretch through the 50s and early 60s where they played the Packers every single year. So there's a lot of history between them and on Thanksgiving, Lions and Packers, that is. But I was also looking up Jahmyr Gibbs versus the Green Bay Packers through his career. These are his rushing totals in those games: 19, 43, 65, 54, 40. He has yet to have a big game against the Green Bay Packers, averaging 44 rushing yards a game and a quarter of a touchdown, only scoring in 1/5 of his games. Or sorry, a 20th. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes. So he hasn't had a big game. We know that last week there was over 1,000 yards of offense between the Giants and the Lions. A big part of that being Jahmyr Gibbs with his massive game there. But we've also seen stretches where Jahmyr Gibbs has been quiet, and he's generally been quiet against Green Bay Packers throughout his career.
Can you, Josh, look up? Sorry, after your next point, can you look up David Montgomery's yards against the Packers? I think that he does a lot more against them.
I do think so.
We got to keep moving.
Sorry.
Also, we got to keep moving. So
sorry.
Yeah, but Green Bay Packers points allowed 18 right now. That's top 5 in the NFL. I just think the Packers, while they may be less exciting right now than the Detroit Lions offense, largely because of Gibbs, largely because of Amon-Ra, I think they have a lot more available to them in this game against this Lions secondary, just like the New York Giants did. So I think the Packers will be able to respond against them offensively.
You're making me a lone wolf. I love it.
Green Bay Packers.
All right, let's keep moving, guys. We got to keep moving. Kansas City's at Dallas. Kansas City's favored by 4.5.
I'll be quick. I go Dallas. I think that Mahomes will score a passing touchdown in this game, obviously. I think that the Colts secondary is much better than the Cowboys secondary. But I think Dallas's weapons are, at least in the air, far superior than the Colts wide receivers. So I think it'll be a shootout. It's technically prime time right after lunch or right before dinner, whenever you eat your Thanksgiving meal. Right in prime time, CBS. So I think I'm going to go Dallas. Slightly homerism. But I just think that their offense is better right now.
Tim?
I love Dallas in this. I actually think they win pretty big because I think I love what they did the second half. They shut out the Philadelphia Eagles the second half, a very good team, a very inconsistent offense, but they shut them off. They shut them down, and they're coming off. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was just like. This isn't like 2 weeks ago. There's only a 3-day gap in between these games. So I think they ride that momentum in. Like Caleb said, their offense is very explosive. You guys have 2 number 1 receivers in Dallas. I think Dallas is a better team.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Cowboys as well. They're 4th in points per game offensively. They're 3rd in yards per game, number 1 in passing yards per game now. Obviously, they have 2 premier wide receivers. Javonte Williams is averaging 82 rushing yards a game. That's almost double Kareem Hunt through the season. But yeah, I think the advantage that the Cowboys have over the Colts last week, we mentioned Ashton Doolin being their biggest receiver in that game with 1 large reception. There was no connection there with Downs and Pittman and Pierce, of course. I think it's going to be a taller task, of course, to guard Lamb and Pickens. And we see they can play up to anyone offensively. I think that's a big part of it. The Chiefs were kind of stale last game. I just think that's kind of been the story of the Chiefs season, is getting by. Similarly to the Eagles, the Eagles a bit more impressive than the Chiefs this year, but I think it's kind of a similar matchup to last week. That's why I picked the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think bringing in the big run stopper from Green Bay, and now bringing in making our front line a lot stronger. Bringing in the young guy from the Jets, Williams. I think that changes things, and we're starting to see them be a problem. I did watch the replay, the quick replay of the game that that I watched most of already. Williams is a real problem. He really is, and so is Kenny. They're every down they're going after it, and Mahomes seems like he's running for his life already. And if Caleb's right, if the linebacker room is getting shuffled in a positive direction, and Bland's playing his right position, it's a problem for a thin offense already for Kansas City. I'll add to what Josh said. We have that wide receiver tandem that we've talked about to the point of nausea, but we also have a solid running game in Williams. A running game that we can pound you with and beat you with, as well as a perennial top 5 to 10 tight end in terms of statistics and the whole nine, meaning that he's capable. So from every angle, offensively, Dallas looks. It pains me to say this too, but I feel like a lot of times Dallas and Kansas City have been fighting for their playoff life already, and that matters. And at this point, I think by virtue of momentum, I think Dallas may want it just a little bit more. And Dallas is a team that has to learn how to win. They don't know how to win. Even though they finish on the plus side most seasons in wins and losses. Dallas is not a winning team. They're just not. The Chiefs know how to win, but I think they're undergunned. I don't think they have the firepower to be able to continue the way they are. And I think they'll reload after this, but I'm going Dallas as well. All right, Baltimore, 6.5 point favorites at home against Cincinnati. I don't think it's a surprise we're all going Baltimore, even if Joe Burrow comes back, or does someone think differently?
Is Burrow back?
He's practicing, yeah.
Yeah. I think we got a lone wolf right there.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I think that we've seen Baltimore, their defense really, other than the last few weeks, they've kind of tightened it down, but they've been one of the most porous secondaries in the league. Kyle Hamilton's hurt. I don't remember his injury. He's out, their safety. And Jamar Chase is back from his suspension. He's going to be very upset, I think. And historically, he destroys the Baltimore Ravens. I think he averages over 100 yards against them. And Joe Burrow's back. His guy's back. I think that he's going to have 15-plus targets in this game. I think it's just going to be backyard football. I think it's going to be close because it's divisional, but I think the Bengals have a real shot at just playing prayer ball, one-on-one, Jamar Chase, and it could happen.
T. Higgins is also
I'm praying that it happens because I've been the owner of Jamar Chase in the fantasy league the last week.
Oh, boy.
But,
that's a homer.
But it's 50-50. It's divisional. It's
who you got?
Thanksgiving and Joe Burrow. I'm Bengals.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. Sorry, I was just reading the names here. If you look at tight ends versus the Cincinnati Bengals defense this year, you have Harold Fannin, his first game of his career, 7 catches for 63 yards. TJ Hawkinson, his best game of the year, I believe, 5 for 50 and a touchdown. Sam Laporta, 5 for 92 and 1 touchdown. Tucker Kraft, 2 for 43 and a touchdown. Pat Freiermuth, 5 for 111 and 2 touchdowns in prime time, if y'all remember that one. Mason Taylor, 5 for 34 and the game-winning touchdown. Colson Loveland, 6 118 in his breakout game, 2 touchdowns. He won the game on that one. Darnell Washington, 4 for 67. Hunter Henry, 7 for 115 and 1. There's 3 great tight ends, in my opinion, or at least 3 tight ends that are very capable on this Baltimore Ravens team, and Andrews, Kohler, and Likely. Their receiving core has been struggling. Bateman's hurt. I think it's a real focus for Derrick Henry and the tight ends, and the Bengals have just been letting tight ends, rookies or not, Mason Taylor winning a game, Colson Loveland winning a game, Harold Fannin playing very well. and they've been able to run through it, and I think they're able to do it again. I just don't think the Bengals secondary is good enough other than matching up against number one receiver with DJ Turner.
Tim?
I think the turnaround for Baltimore the last 5 games has been their defense. And, so I just think that the thing that scares me if Burrow comes back is Burrow, they almost have nothing to play for, right? The Bengals, so, and it's a division rival. I'll go Bengals. Yep.
Tim and Caleb. We've talked about this, but let me reiterate for our listeners. Ravens Steelers both at 6-5. Baltimore Browns both at 3-8. Okay. One game. This is a tough one. Before we start cruising through a couple, Philadelphia's at home 6.5-point favorites against Chicago, the red hot Chicago Bears, who are on a 4-game winning streak and 8-3. Both teams at 8-3. I'm surprised to say that the Bears and the Eagles. I'm going Philly. I went Baltimore, by the way, if anyone's for whoever cares. I'm going Philly. I think they. I don't know who cares, but I'm going Philly. I think Philly. I think that they'll. Yeah, I'm going Philly. I don't have any reasons other than because no one can predict
the best reason.
All right.
Yeah.
Give me the best
I'm
reason.
going to go Eagles because the Bears, their 2 starting linebackers, TJ Edwards and Edmonds, are both out of this game. They're on their 3rd and 4th string linebackers, and Saquon Barkley is going to have his 100-yard game. He's going to have his breakout, quote-unquote, game this
Second
year
of
where
the
he
year.
finally looks like Saquon of last year.
Okay.
And they're going to win this game decidedly, I think.
Tim?
Eagles all day. Eagles all day. Yep.
Joshua?
No, I agree. I definitely agree. Tim, said it very well earlier. This is the Washington Commanders from last year. We're seeing the high talent and capabilities that Caleb Williams has. I think this team they have their future ahead of them. They have their coach. They have their quarterback. They have all their ducks in a row as far as that goes. But they've played favorable matchups, and the results of that has been a win for them. But I don't think they've had to play a tough team, or at least a perceivably tough team like the Eagles. I just think with the injuries that they have, the Pittsburgh Steelers playing against the Bears didn't throw a single pass in the middle of the field or the interior of the field with 3 linebackers missing for them. Caleb mentioned once again, top 2 linebackers are out. They have several DBs out still. There's going to be favorable matchups for Saquon, for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. This is the biggest task for the Bears defense so far. So Eagles.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Here's 2 guys. Again, we got to keep the ball moving here. 2 teams that I think are both 6.5-point favorites, both on the road. I think we're all going to agree should win. San Francisco at Cleveland, Jacksonville at Tennessee. Anybody picking these underdogs? I'm going San Francisco and Jacksonville all the way. All right, good. Here's one that deserves a little dialogue. Indianapolis is favored at home against Houston. 3.5-point favorites. Indy at Houston. Josh, I know you love those Colts. More importantly, you love Jonathan Taylor. Who you got?
Have they played each other already this year?
That is a great question.
A quick look. They have not. I know in previous years, Jonathan Taylor, I know this is a different defense. They brought in Daniil Hunter, obviously their top-level defense this year. Jonathan Taylor's played extremely well against them. But this is what was just a few weeks ago the number 1 defense and the number 1 offense going up against each other. I want to say the Indianapolis Colts in this game, I think they're going to be able to control the clock a little bit better offensively as opposed to the previous game. With the likes of Davis Mills, and I just think that the premier players for the Colts are going to be able to extend the clock for them more than the Houston Texans. The Texans, their defense has been fantastic, but hasn't helped them overtake games necessarily other than the last couple of games. They're obviously in a hot streak, but I think that the Colts are going to answer back. They have a quality offensive line, unlike the Buffalo Bills. And obviously Jonathan Taylor being able to control the clock would be the biggest reason to pick that matchup for him. So Indianapolis Colts.
Interestingly enough, they have not played the Texans until this week. They close out, in Houston, and they have not played the Jaguars this season. Both teams, the Jaguars are 8-3, I think, or 8-4. But here's the point: they have got nothing other than the Texans, but winning teams. And here's what I say: this is tough, guys. They have the Texans, they have the Jaguars in Jacksonville, the Seahawks in Seattle, then the 49ers, then the Jaguars, and then they close out. This will really, Tim, test how good Daniel Jones and this team is. This is a tough way to go. Josh, you had a point before I go to Tim.
Yeah. Just one brief thing. I brought up saying Jonathan Taylor does very well against them. These are his last game, or every game against them. I'd rather just go through
every game.
91 rushing yards on 13 carries his first game, 83 rushing yards, 145, 143, 161, 188, 48, and 105. So very good average there for him against them through the history of playing them, but different, slightly better defense this year, of course.
Yep. All right, Tim. Caleb, get ready.
All the way back on week 5, I said I want to see Indy prove it. Here's the 6-game gamut that they have to run through. If they can come out of this 4-2, 5-1 even, be incredibly impressive. I don't know that they can, but I do think they win this week because of Jonathan Taylor. So I'm going Colts this week.
All right.
I'll probably lone wolf this one, the Lone Ranger here.
Yep.
I'm going to go Texans. We just watched what they did in prime time. I think that they're a great football team, the best defense in the league right now. I know the Broncos are coming off their bye; they were before, but their linebackers are too good. Al Shair's been playing great. To'o has been playing great. They have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, like Josh said earlier, both have double-digit sacks. I think they're going to pressure Daniel Jones. We already know that their wide receiver core for the Colts is not great.
Right.
Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce are good sometimes. Josh Downs is pretty reliable for them, but we see them get shut out. Spagnuolo just shut them out completely. And the DBs for the Houston Texans are very good. So I think that we can see that again here, and we're going to force Jonathan Taylor to run, which Jonathan Taylor's going to get his. I think he's going to have a great game. But I think that overall, they're going to make Daniel Jones finally make mistakes and force him to kind of throw the ball out. Man-on-man coverage is going to be some problems, I think. So I'm going Houston because of that defense.
Davis Mills starting?
As of right now.
He's been great. He's been great. All right, let's keep the ball moving. Miami is at home, 5.5-point favorites against New Orleans. Anyone taking the Saints?
No.
We're all unanimous. Okay.
It'd be fun, though.
Darren Waller's practicing, too, so he might be back for them.
Wah. All right, Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons, 2.5-point favorites over the Jets. Anybody taking the Jets? I can't do it.
No, not with Kirk. Kirk just won.
Yeah.
Bijan. Yeah. Drake London might be practicing too, so he might be coming back this week.
Well, it'll help him out. All right, just a little bit here because I'm not sure we're going to agree on this one. Arizona going to Tampa Bay without Baker. Tampa Bay still favored 2.5. I went Arizona. Anybody taking Tampa Bay?
No, because it's a Teddy Bridgewater. Is that who their backup is?
Yeah.
He did not. Yeah. He didn't show any promise in that game.
Yeah, I like Arizona. As a team, I like Arizona. I think they've got some promise.
We're taking a lot of
Jacoby.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. Actually, here's two, but stop me anytime you want to unpack it. Rams, 9.5-point favorites against now a hobbled Carolina, and Seattle, 9.5-point favorites at home against Minnesota. And I wouldn't say hobbled JJ McCarthy, but I'm going Rams and Seattle big. Anybody breaking on these?
No. The Vikings are going to start a rookie quarterback as of right now, Max Brosmer from Minnesota. So hometown kid, but he's playing Seattle. It's at Seattle, you said?
It is at Seattle.
No, that's horrendous as your first start in the league. So
Let me ask you guys this. JJ McCarthy, is he healthy?
I think he is, but he has a mystery concussion that he's clearly concussed, they said.
Do you remember when he was hurt before?
Yeah.
Showing signs of brain damage, according to the Minnesota team.
Oh, yeah. They have a funny medical staff there.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with them. I'm saying they're saying that themselves. So.
Because when he had a bum ankle, he suddenly hurdled someone coming to the sideline before getting tackled and landed just fine. So maybe he's totally...
I will say, going back to that Rams game very quickly, I could see that potentially being a trap game because now everybody's all in on the Rams. You know, I'm not going to pick against them, but I will say I think I would be floored if they lost to the Panthers. Have surprised a lot of people this year. It's in Carolina. I could see the Rams starting to look ahead to playoff positioning and kind of get tripped up here.
I agree with you. I agree with you, except for Horn and half their team left the game last night on a stretcher.
I know. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
I think that reduces. Okay.
I was going to say J.C. Horn would be the caveat there because obviously you have to shut down one of the receivers or potentially, for most of the game. They had several rookies playing. They had Chairless playing in this game, so now they have rookies at cornerback and linebacker stepping in. They had a rookie cornerback step in, and he's already out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're their fourth-string linebacker.
Yeah, it's tough there. But the run defense played well against McCaffrey despite all of the 31 carries what he had in this game. And then to Tim's credit, the Tennessee Titans game where Puka Nacua had that long rushing touchdown, it was kind of similar atmosphere. Like, of course, the Rams, they're going to blow them out. It's going to be easy. It ended up being 33-19, but for the most of that game, it was pretty close, uncomfortably early in the season for the Rams.
This is an aside, but I think the Titans have been playing close games most of the year.
They have.
Like, most of their games until the very end have been close, which is surprising.
Yeah. Okay. Did I get everybody? We're all in agreement. Seattle and the Rams are going to. Okay.
So, I had one thing. The Vikings, this is obviously a tough matchup. Y'all mentioned, regardless of quarterback, whichever one's playing against the Seattle Seahawks, they actually have the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL with one of those two quarterbacks. So, this game and every future game is going to be tough going for them.
Are you saying the Minnesota Vikings?
The Vikings have the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL.
So, sorry, Max, in advance. So, it's not really a fair measuring stick for your potential.
Well,
that's right.
I don't know, bro. I'm almost convinced that when we just talked about here's why. Because they go to Seattle. Sure enough, they'll get shellacked. But they get the Commanders. That could be, it's 50-50. They both are pretty terrible. They get us. And then they get the Giants.
They don't beat you guys.
They get the Giant. Okay, the last two, they get the Lions and Packers. Oh, my. But Giants.
They might be the Commanders in there. But
the Commanders might be the only win they get the rest of the way. This team's going to finish with 5 wins, Tim. 5.
They still haven't ruled out Jaden Daniels for that game.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's keep moving. Buffalo Bills are going to Pittsburgh. Their favorite 3.5. Is this a revenge game? Does Josh Allen take it out on the Pittsburgh Steelers, or does Aaron Rodgers come back and spoil? What do you think?
I think this is Jalen Warren's game. I don't think it matters who's throwing for Pittsburgh. We just saw Bernard go out with a broken arm. Friendly fire, Matt Milano speared into his arm and broke his arm, so he's out. Now Shaq Thompson has to start in his place. They have Matt Milano, who's been pretty terrible if you've been watching Bills football this year. He's older. He shouldn't be starting. They still have Dorian Williams, who's one of the best linebackers in the league, in my opinion. Josh knows what I'm talking about. But now Shaq Thompson's going to be in that rotation as that starter with Matt Milano. So deep, their linebackers are not deep anymore. They're very shallow. Their corners have been playing pretty poorly this year. But I think Jalen Warren's going to have a big game. Kenneth Gainwell, we've seen previous weeks, have great receiving games out of the backfield. So I think that they're just going to do that. Aaron Rodgers is going to have wheel routes to Gainwell, and Jalen Warren's going to have 20 carries, and I don't think the Bills' defense can stop that. So Josh Allen's going to have to play Superman again, which is unfortunate. Pittsburgh linebackers have been playing better. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson have really turned it on against the run. So it's going to be, can you contain... Obviously, Josh Allen is going to be the problem. But I think Pittsburgh defense has been great, and then Jalen Warren's going to have a big game.
Tim?
Both are flawed teams, obviously. I like Pittsburgh in this one. I do. I think Pittsburgh's got a lot to fight for, and they both have a lot to fight for right now. But I think Pittsburgh bounces back from some of their kind of... They've obviously taken a dip this last month. We were talking about some of the stats of the plus 20-yard passing. They haven't had one, right? Was there one or not even any, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the team for them to bounce back against. Again, Buffalo has a phenomenal quarterback. And I think that's about all we could say about Buffalo right now, sadly. So, yeah, I actually like Pittsburgh in this one.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I think the Steelers team is a great mystery to me. You can look at the comparison. They lost George Pickens. He has, I think, 20 or 30 less yards than the entire Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core this year. So that's a problem. They're not doing well. They're running essentially all their receivers on these outside routes, just like they used George Pickens last year in this Arthur Smith offense. Their offense is confusing, and it's apparently confusing for their opponents as well. Because you look at the wins that they have this year. They beat the New England Patriots. They beat the Indianapolis Colts. They were at one. It was a close game against the Packers. They ended up losing by 2 scores at the end of it. But New England Patriots, Indianapolis Colts, 2 of the top-rated teams this season. And then you see they lose to the Chicago Bears. They lose to the Bengals. It's a mystery to me. Their defensive scheme doesn't look good. Their offensive scheme looks limited. But like Tim said, it's just they're just a team that can go out and just play well. And of course, they're a flawed team, but so are the Buffalo Bills. But I'm not going to say the Buffalo Bills are going to play that poorly again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Steelers' defense right now is the Houston Texans level. I think it's very exploitable, especially with slot receivers against that scheme. We've seen it time and time again. Their best player is a slot receiver, Khalil Shakir. Their offensive scheme goes a lot to the backs. I just think they have a bigger benefit, offense versus defense, the Buffalo Bills, that is.
Okay, I'm going Buffalo as well. So we're split down the middle. Okay, I don't think there's going to be anyone to descend on this one. Chargers at home, 9.5-point favorites over Vegas. We're all in agreement. Yeah. Chargers. I don't think anyone's going to disagree on this one. Actually, the last two. Denver Broncos, 6.5-point favorites on the road, going to Washington. Broncos all the way.
Broncos all the way.
And then finally, New England and their 9-game winning streak with the New York Giants coming to New England. Anybody?
Make it 10.
Make it 10. Anybody descending here?
No, but I think the Giants, they're sneaky. I mean, we watched them go toe-to-toe with the Lions. The Patriots are obviously very good, but I think this might be a little closer than last week for the Giants. I know it was a one-possession game, but I'm saying as far as – I don't know what I'm saying. I think it'll be close.
11 times this week we have all agreed excuse me, on the winner. That's a record for us. We've never agreed 11 times.
Is it really?
That's insane.
Wow.
That's insane.
Pretty crazy.
Well, actually, the Giants will win.
You're changing it. You just want to make it 10.
Make it 10.
No, Patriots will win. Hopefully they keep using Travion Henderson like they are. He's been great. Josh, is he leading rookies in rushing? Or is he going to, you think?
I think Genty and Judkins are still slightly above him.
Slightly.
But
he's only started 4 games.
After not starting that long, he's jumped right behind them.
Yeah.
So, guys, we only have a small number of weeks, and we're starting to see some teams like Dallas and Kansas City have to fight. Buffalo's still in a good spot. They can still lose a couple of games, still be alive. But so what are your thoughts? What are your feelings so far as we get ready to see the season race to a playoff battle? Obviously, people like Baker being out is relevant to that team. People like the Washington not having a starting quarterback too late, I think. And we're watching, I think, the Vikings crash and burn right now with their quarterback play. But that said, what are some things that stand out to you that are interesting? Tim, I'll start and just tell you, obviously I love seeing Dallas maybe make a run, which who knows. But I love your division right now. I love that division, we thought the Vikings, were going to at least have good numbers. We didn't know he'd be this bad. Or we thought they'd go with Wentz by now, which they probably would, to be fair, if he was healthy. But your division has been a bright spot for me. I've enjoyed watching the whole thing evolve. I've enjoyed watching – I know you don't love seeing the Packers be a little more inconsistent than you like. But we've seen the Lions also not be sharp, and we've seen the Bears try to figure out. So I think your division, for me, we're going to enjoy for years to come, personally.
Yeah, I think one of the conversation pieces coming out of the NFC will be that recurring conversation that we have every year of like the division leaders getting in. Because when we look at the NFC South, clearly the team that wins the NFC South is going to have a worse record than any of the NFC North teams,
and that's
besides the Vikings and any of those NFC West teams. Right? There's 3 teams in the NFC West that I think we could all probably argue should be probably playoff caliber teams, and possibly 3 teams in the NFC North. So, and some of those teams are not going to make the playoffs because a team like Tampa or Carolina is going to make it in because they won their division. So, it'll be a good race to the finish. But like we say every year, you've got to play the whole season out. You've got to beat the teams on the schedule in front of you. It doesn't matter strength of schedule, any of that garbage. You got to beat the teams ahead of you, and you want to be a playoff team. You got to play like a playoff team and play all 18 weeks. So I think it's going to be a good race to the finish. And I think we're going to be talking about some really good teams that do not make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Josh, anything that sticks out so far? Anything you're eyeballing, looking for? Anything that'll be interesting for us to keep an eye on?
Yeah, this has been a large discussion of recent history here, especially this season. But George Pickens, just what he's done this year with the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, we get to watch him on Thursday afternoon. Because Tucker Kraft is injured, rest in peace, our new perfect guy to throw to is George Pickens. So his QBR when thrown to George Pickens is 98.1. That's the highest in the NFL. And then one more thing to highlight for the Dallas Cowboys, their defense has looked better. One thing that's kind of synonymous with not just playoff teams, but Super Bowl teams, is a great interior pass rush, a great interior defensive line. This is from Next Gen Stats. Since joining the Dallas Cowboys, Quinn Williams has more quarterback pressures than any other defensive tackle and has the second lowest average time and pressure among those, with at least 5, getting there in 2.5 seconds. So he's playing at an extremely high rate. He had, I think, his first game with the Cowboys, he had the most QB pressures he's ever had. So 2 consecutive outstanding games. Defensively, interior defensive line, they're playing fantastic with Odigizua, and then just the wide receiver play has been top in the NFL. So excited to see that on Thursday, and everyone else can be seeing it as well. So,
Caleb, same question. Anything that you're excited that we should be looking for?
I think I'm the most excited about the AFC South. We talked about it briefly. The Colts' schedule is horrendous the rest of the year. The Texans, if they beat them this week, are a game behind them. And then Jacksonville is, if the Colts lose, tied with the Colts. And I think they'll jump them over them beating the Titans this week, Jacksonville. So this division is neck and neck still within a game, all 3 teams, if Texans win this week. But the schedule going forward, the Colts, it's rough. And the Jaguars have a lighter one. I think the Jaguars are sneaky. They're a game out of winning this division, and they have a good defense. Their secondary is fine. Their pass rush got 6 sacks last week. They've been playing great. Josh Hines-Allen is a Pro Bowler, and he just passed the franchise record for sacks for Jacksonville last week. So they're a good team. Trevor Lawrence has been playing fine. They've actually been playing better without their best receiver, Brian Thomas, which is interesting. Jacoby Myers came in immediately. They scored a touchdown with him this week. Instant chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, which is great for that team. Liam Cohen's a great coach. So I'm excited to see how this division plays out, but more importantly for me, I'm a closet Jacksonville fan. I love Jacksonville. I think they're great. Ever since Blake Bortles and the Allen brothers back in the day. Love that. But I think Jacksonville is a real shot at winning this division. I think it'll be interesting to see how it turns out with all 4 of these teams playing each other this week. So it's a very important week for that division.
It's another division with young quarterbacks that are going to be around for a while that could be a lot of fun as we see them figured out. Hey, check this out. If it ended right now, guys, the Patriots would get the bye week. That sounds like the last 25 years of our life before the Chiefs era. Broncos, number 2 seed. Colts, 3 seed. Ravens are in. Chargers, Jaguars, and Bills. Now, currently, because there's only 7 teams, as you know, 4 division winners, 3 wild card. Texans, Steelers, Chiefs. Nobody else on that list matters. Would all be on the outside. Isn't that insane? Wow. I mean, that is. Now wait till you hear this. There's no team, but there's only one team in the NFC that doesn't deserve to miss. Of course, Rams would get the bye. Then the number 2 seed, Eagles, Bears, Buccaneers, and that's subject to change. Seahawks, Packers, 49ers in on the bubble. Only one team deserves to make the playoffs and wouldn't if it ended today, the Lions. Behind them is Carolina and Dallas, who probably don't deserve it, is why I say that. And nobody below them does. But the fact that the Lions and Chiefs could potentially not make the playoffs.
Crazy.
This is wild,
Or
John.
could potentially be in the Super Bowl.
That's
that's what makes
weren't they the Super Bowl picks going into the year?
I think so.
They're probably everybody's Super Bowl picks going to be. Yeah, that's the kind of year that 2025 has been as an NFL season. So, this is great. So, listen, hey, there are no bye weeks. Everybody's playing. So, if you have fantasy, don't worry about it. But pay attention because there's turkey games, and you're going to need to have some players. Your roster is set. I usually get a subtle nudge from my boys way before the games, like, Dad, you mind if I look at your roster? Or, Dad, did you set your roster? Or they'll be on my phone. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm setting your roster. So I'm grateful, but don't forget to set your roster before you eat turkey. Well, go ahead, Josh. You had a point.
Yep. Black Friday game as well.
Great game.
I think Jalen Phillips, he's playing in this game. He tore his Achilles in one of the Black Friday games years ago. They're not playing in New York, but pray for the Achilles, pray for the knees, pray for the ligaments on these teams here. Don't want to see any more injuries like that.
No.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great week. I love that we have football on Thursday because, other than the kids running around, which they're easy to watch football over, it is great to watch games all day long. Tim, anything special for you this year? I saw your dad. Is he in town for Thanksgiving or no?
He is in town. We'll be watching the Packers game. So
is he a Packers fan too?
He's a diehard Packers fan. He's the
All
one
right,
that got me into it. Yeah.
You got to explain this.
I don't know how.
Three generations
His dad
of.
was
Well,
I know.
Ethan's
Growing
not
up
a
in
Long
New York,
Islander. Yeah.
They both. His dad grew up on Long Island and grew up a Packers fan. I think it was just in the '60s, '50s, '60s. The Packers just one of those historic teams, and
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't choose Jets or Giants. They went with Packers. I'm kind of glad they did, though.
Are you all
It's been a
Mets
fun
fans,
team.
right? You're all Mets fans.
And a Mets fan, diehard Mets fan. Yeah.
See, I love that.
That's a suffering one, but yeah.
My dad was a Cowboys fan, but only because his best friend, it was a Navy guy from Dallas, a guy named Johnny Williams.
Oh, really?
And when my parents didn't care anything about football very much, apparently,
Yeah.
they didn't have any team. Johnny and Diane offered to buy me an outfit to bring me home from the hospital in, and it was a Dallas Cowboy outfit.
Dallas Cowboys. That's amazing, really.
It's the early '70s, so we were still not, we weren't who we became, And of course, I was too little to enjoy Staubach winning, so I didn't get my wins until I was already an adult. But because of my, not really like my godfather, but kind of very close family friend, because of his devotion to the Cowboys, I grew up kind of a Cowboys fan. I don't know why Caleb and
awesome.
and Josh root for who they root for, but if you're happy to share if you want to, I don't know.
You're a Cowboys fan. Yeah.
me and Pop are both Cowboys fans.
Yeah. That's why I am, I guess. They're hard to root for because my lifetime has been pretty brutal.
I'm sorry.
That's true. You were born in '97, so that's really hard.
So the year I was thought of was the year that they started. Yeah. So I've never seen them do great.
No.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
No. It's just
They're
interesting.
entertaining every year. They're entertaining. That's for
They're
sure.
talked about enough. So.
They're talked about a lot.
And Josh, you're a Steelers fan. Any rhyme or reason or?
Yes. My practice football jersey was Steelers colors, and I was young enough where I didn't know what team that was, and I looked it up, and I was like, "That's the team." And I was young enough. I bought in for some reason. Don't know why. Then Antonio Brown became my favorite player, so I just stuck with it. So
Josh also has the funniest distinction because I've had a lot of luck. Like I've had a Roger Staubach jersey and a Danny White, and and a Preston Pearson, Drew Hill, I've had them all my whole life, Every time we buy Josh a game jersey, somebody does, for a present, every time. That player either stinks, dies,
Retires.
literally like retires, like can't play football anymore, or is just terrible. Wow. Every single one of them. So we stopped buying Josh jerseys.
Like
of course, he's
a curse.
Yeah, I think a Heath jersey. He ended up retiring. Antonio Brown. He went south. Le'Veon Bell. He ended up moving. That whole situation. The whole season of that. That we dealt with. What's the next one? Oh, George Pickens. This guy. He just
George
left.
Pickens. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least you got a sweet autographed jersey.
Juju jersey.
Yeah.
Every time.
So if you want someone to be bad on the Steelers, buy me a jersey for him.
Buy you the jersey.
Certainly.
Yeah. 100%.
You might get a couple Aaron Rodgers jerseys in the mailbox.
You buy a TJ Watt jersey, my dude's retiring next year. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna happen.
He just passed his brother in sacks. That's cool.
I know he did. Yeah,
with his brother calling the game. Another footnote.
That's cool.
Another footnote. Rain Dakota Rain Prescott is now the Dallas Cowboys all-time leading passer. I don't care who you are. When you're walking in the footsteps of Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and Tony Romo, that is one heck of an accomplishment. So love him or hate him, man.
They just get better every time.
Yeah, they really do. Hey, I say all this because, football and family, it's a big deal for us. My wife even has something here on the wall that says something about it. But hopefully everyone gets a chance to spend Thanksgiving with their friends, with their family. Hopefully you get a chance to enjoy these 3 football games and, like you said, a Black Friday. So we don't get a chance, of course, to see any of you, but happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys enjoy. We will be here to talk to you about all of the action coming up, and we will recap, of course, Week 13. So we'll see you next time on Guys Without Helmets.